Okay, ready to get started, Mike?
Sure am.
Let's jump in. Welcome everybody to the first episode
Hey,
of our
everybody.
series. Hey, Mike. Thanks. On this Beyond the Build from Blue Modus, and really the idea is to talk about everything that goes into a website that's so much more than just code and so much more than just a redesign and a launch. It's really a never-ending labor of love with many, many considerations, and those things are changing all the time. So here on the first episode, I'm joined by Mike Wills, our VP of Technology here at Blue Modus. I'm sure a lot of you guys have worked with Mike and know Mike, so really excited to have him on the first episode and sharing not only his expertise but his bubbly personality. So really been looking forward to this, Mike. So today's topic, I think at this point, almost all of us are familiar with AI, especially generative AI. You know, ChatGPT, Copilot. But something that maybe you're interacting with even more than generative AI without even realizing it is search generative AI or search, sorry, SGE, search generative experience is what Google calls it, but it's changing so much about digital marketing. AI is really changing the way users interact with the info they're looking for online. And I know I see it almost every day when I use Google, and it definitely changes my behavior. I'm not necessarily clicking on links if Google is telling me the answer right there in the results page. That's just one aspect of this that kind of is really changing everything. So, Mike, I'd love to kick it over to you and kind of what are you seeing at a high level when it comes to AI's impact on the work that we do at Blue Modus?
Right. And we've actually been seeing this a while, like search snippets and quick answers in Google and so on have been around for a while. But with the hype of AI and the prevalence of AI assisted or enhanced searches, it's really starting to get more attention that it's having an impact on digital marketing. And I think the big impact it has is that users are actually getting what they need often without coming to the websites we're building. And they have been before, but the numbers are shifting and the attention is even greater on it. So if someone's looking for help with something, they'll often get what they need right on the search page. If they're looking for a quick answer, right on the search page. And that means less and less people are willing to click links and even worse, browse a site once they enter a site to find what they need. They're expecting to get it instantly. So not only does this have an impact of how we reach an audience, reach people before they even entered the site, it also has an impact of what people expect when they come to our sites. They don't want to browse. They don't want to explore a catalog of information. They don't want to be clicking through navigation looking. They just want to get help when they're on the site. So that changes
So
how we reach the audience and then how we take care of them when they come to the site.
it almost sounds like not only is the experience in a search engine like Google, the new experience changing how they interact on that page, but it's almost like changing their expectations, even if they do need to come to your site, they need to go deeper, but they're still expecting a similar experience. Do you think that's fair to say?
That's absolutely true. Yeah. Like it's more likely if they actually clicked a link in a search result page and got to your site, if it's not like if they don't perceive they're going to get instantly what they need, they're likely to back out and search some more or choose another organization, another site. So it's really important that when they enter the site, they're immediately engaged with what they need, the help they need.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, can you maybe share an example or two of what that looks like in the real world for customers?
Sure. Actually, our UX team did one that I just got really excited about recently. And they didn't even have to use AI to do it, they just provided a really good customer centric user experience. This customer is a customer that provides car ignition locking devices. So these are for people that are required to have a like a breath analyzer locking device in their car in order to have driving privileges. And the site they had was very familiar, navigation based. The content was largely organized about who we are, here's our services, what we do, and that kind of site, the kind of site we're all used to, really requires people to browse I'm going to exaggerate a little bit, but browse a catalog of information to find the answers. And the user experience that I saw designed to replace it, I heard they got them very excited, but I was super excited when I saw it too. The navigation became much more diminished on the site, just behind a hamburger menu, but up in front was a experience that really focused on who are the people coming to the site, what are they going through. So right in the front was, I just got a DUI, what do I do? Or I've been to court, what happens next? I've been sentenced and need ignition lock, how do I start? Just right up in front, so it immediately engages the site visitor where they're at with help. So they click one of those links, next step is, okay, give us his, tell me what state you're in. Okay, this is what you're going to have to do. It just walked them, it was a user experience that walked that site visitor who's in a stressful state through what they needed. So it was very focused on helping the site visitor instead of talking about our organization in a
Yeah.
sense. Does that
And
make sense?
it does, and reducing the number of clicks, it sounds like, right? Which again is kind of mirroring the trends in search, where it's like 0 click, 1
Mm-hmm.
click. We're trying to bring some of that. We have been for a long time, right? But it sounds like it's even more critical now that users don't feel like they have to go hunting for the, conversion-based data that you're trying to put in front of them.
Yeah. Another way to think about it is you see these mobile apps constantly promoted that if you install this app, it'll help you with this or with that, maybe help you sleep better.
Right.
When you install that app and launch it for the first time, what happens? It's walking you through what you need.
Guided tour, right?
It's an experience to help you. It's an experience to provide something to you. And in a sense, that's the same kind of mentality we need to have with designing websites. How do we provide an experience that actually helps the visitor instantly when they come to the site?
Yeah. And zooming out a little bit, maybe backing up from where we just were in the conversation. Um, you said something to me recently that I thought was really important and interesting to keep in mind on our side, on the agency side or the internal team side, when you're working on a website project. So, do you think it's fair to say that sometimes we fall into the trap of getting excited about what we're doing and our designs and how it meets our internal needs, and we lose track of what you're talking about, which is, what does the user really want?
Right. I kind of think of it as the if we build it, they will come fallacy. And it's just so natural.
Right.
Like if we're spending big budgets on a new site, and if we're investing in designs and the designs are exciting to us, there's just this hope that people will come and see it and kind of have the same reaction we have. But the reality is most users don't really care. They're just trying to get an answer, trying to solve a problem. Um, I've seen it before, like, oh, wow, over a decade ago, even it seemed really popular to add commenting to everyone's website,
Yeah.
because, and I remember the UX designer consulting the execs of this. It was a foundation saying, hey, our experience is users aren't going to use this, and then you'll want to take it down because it'll be kind of embarrassing to have empty comments on the page. Instead, let's engage visitors where they're at. And sure enough, it happened. It was built, it wasn't used, and we took it down. So that big lesson, and I think it applies here too, if you're trying to reach new users, go to them instead of expecting that they're going to come to you. And that applies to this new AI enhanced search experience. We have to get our content to the users where they're at, which is in Google, ChatGPT, and other AI solutions for getting information and answer quickly instead of expecting people are
So
going to click into our sites.
can you talk about that a little bit? Like, what are some of the technical considerations to make sure your site is ready to be consumed by these new tools?
Yeah, so there's a few things to consider. Let's just focus on uh, Google AI enhanced
Yeah.
search as an example. The goal there is to make it so your content is used in either the search snippet, the quick answer, or the AI generated and result at the top. And if that's the case, then you want your site to be cited, your organization to be cited, so you at least get some name exposure. Um, People get perceive that you're the authority and might even click to the site and to come to you. So to do that, first you have to have good content. And I would urge you to have a session with Brandon Hess sometime to talk about how to write that good content. But besides writing good content and creating good content, it has to be easy for the Google crawler to understand the content. So to do that, you actually want to have structured data embedded into the site that helps describe what the content is. Structured data usually follows the schema.org types. This is going to have basic, simple types that clarify what's in what's on the page. So you might have a question and answer type, you might have an event type, and you might have a product type, services type, even page types, research report types. And that data about the content is embedded in the page, and it makes it very easy for crawlers to correctly interpret the content, and then makes it more likely for that content to be used in search experiences.
And so if we're saying, a lot of what in the past might have been page view conversions, right? This is information that we say we succeeded because we got hits on this page and they came into this page from Google. This is a landing page from Google. If that is being subsumed back into the search engines themselves in the form of
Right.
zero click, how can websites kind of still capture that as a win? Because I think what you're saying, if your website is driving that summary and being cited, even if someone doesn't click, that's still a win for your website and your brand, right? I mean, is there any way to have visibility into that?
Yeah. Well, so I honestly don't know if you could have visibility on how often your content is serviced by an AI enhanced search in Google. I suspect there isn't a way, but again, Brandon, we should have a session with Brandon. He could probably answer that. But I would expect, though, when users actually click into your site, they are much more likely to already have an idea that your site is going to give them what they need, because
Right.
they've already
They're
seen
deeper
content. They've
in the
already got
process.
an answer. So
Yeah.
I would expect visits to be reduced, but the quality of the visits to be increased. So you're more likely to have higher percentage of conversions from the visitors. So it's really important. You're not just giving away content and not getting a result out of it, because through that kind of public channel, that AI assisted search, you're getting name recognition. People are learning who you are, what you can provide, so that when they do come to your site, those visits really matter. They're not accidental clicks where people are just checking you out to see if you do this or that. They already know.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense and kind of supports what we were talking about a few minutes ago, which is even more critical now that your conversion funnel is streamlined, doesn't make it difficult, because if people have high intent, you don't want to lose that urgency when they're coming to your site, right? Like it's very important to reduce the friction to get them to convert.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about other ways that AI is impacting websites and really cool stuff that we can do. But maybe I guess a question that helps transition is kind of like, so what do I do if I'm already halfway through with my project, or I've already created designs for 100 designs for my site? What can I kind of pivot in my project to make sure that I'm not building the wrong thing since things are changing so fast?
Okay. Let's look at it two ways. Let's say you already have designs, but maybe you didn't do your content model yet. Take control of that process. Don't assume it's something the developers take care of, because if you do, there's a good chance the types might reflect the design patterns instead of the actual meaning of the content. So make sure the content model has types that you can map to schema.org types, so that you can embed things like question answers, product, research, and event data in the sites. You can do that regardless of the actual visual design or user experience design of your site. But then I'd also consider, is your site going to end up looking like that kind of classic navigation based catalog of information? Or is there a chance to actually update the designs to make it more focused on what the user needs. A quick way we've actually helped customers do this is using chat assistants. Even if you have that navigation, just imagine having a chat assistant prominent, like right at the hero level, that is immediately presenting customers with default prompts that map what you can do for people who are visiting them. So let's say if we went back to that ignition lock, you could have prompts that say, I need help, I just got sentenced, what do I do? Or I got to get an ignition lock installed now, what's next? And those prompts could be used to immediately get that user the information they need. You could even use AI assistants to start helping the user register, helping the user pick a product, helping the user actually populate a shopping cart. That can all be done. And so you wouldn't have to overhaul your site to do something like that, and it could totally transform
Right.
user experience.
It's more about thinking, okay, what's a high value feature I could potentially add that gives people an alternative route to find the
Right.
information they need, right? And I think I always go back to um, trying to look at the way that I use websites. And definitely, I don't want to spend a ton of time, on my utility company's website searching for how to pay a bill, right? As few as clicks as possible. I want to get that done. But then I think about like a site like Amazon. And Amazon, we've become so conditioned to using their search bar that you might notice yourself doing this. You notice Amazon reflecting this in their UI. A lot of people are obviously typing like my orders in the search bar. So when you type that in, the first result is a link to your order instead of having to go through traditional navigation, right? So I think a site like that has been so search based for so long is kind of an example of what's probably to come for a lot of sites where users really don't want to have to go looking for anything. They want to
Yeah.
be able to interact one time and get exactly where they're going. And we're getting more and more towards that with AI and SGE.
Yeah. And this is a little different, but it reminds me of my behavior even with searches in Google. If I do a search and don't get the answer I need, I might click a link in the search results and look,
Or am I
but I'm
just,
more likely to revise my search
yep,
until I get the answer I need.
yep,
So it's
absolutely.
totally different. Um, like user expectations are totally different. And I'm not even, a young up and comer. The TikTok generation is expecting
Sure.
that even more, right?
Well, and I think that behavior already was something that a lot of us did, and with Gen AI being part of our workflow more, we're even more conditioned to revise the prompt, right? And okay, you were close on that one. Let me do a better job of asking you the question and trying to get the information that I want. So I think definitely, our clients in the mid market and the enterprise space are always going to be following those trends that are being set upstream by the Amazons of the world and the Googles of the world. But that's not an excuse to say you don't have to move that direction because your users use all of these websites, right? They're conditioned this way. And they have options. If your competitors are more kind of following the patterns they expect, even subconsciously, they're going to slowly gravitate towards using those sites over your site.
Right. Or we might think of it as this is an opportunity for you to be
We'd be ahead of the
leading the
competition.
industry and be
Absolutely.
ahead of them and cause users to start gravitating towards you instead. I would certainly do it. Like if I did click on two links and one link I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to explore here to figure it out. Let me try another one. And then the next one, they're like, I can help you with this need. Or here's where you can get the information you're looking for. Boom. That's the
Right.
hook, you know?
Yep. And especially like I think so many of our clients, and also clients that use kind of enterprise content management systems and DXPs, obviously the work that we do centers around those systems. They have a huge amount of content. And usually that content correlates to a lot of different audiences too. So, over the years, that's how you end up with these mega navs that are kind of a way before everything that we're talking about came onto the scene for a user in theory to find the exact information they need through 4 clicks, right? Which was pretty
Right.
good at the time. But now things change so quickly. I think people are getting really frustrated at even seeing a nav with 40 different options, right? Having to read
Right.
each of those. I think what I've been really impressed with, going back to the AI assistants and kind of this agent idea, is it can be a search bar, it can be an assistant, it can be a blend of the two, right? I've been really impressed with how low the overhead has been to get these working for a lot of our clients, especially if they're already using Microsoft Azure and have their data there.
Mhm.
These agents are really not massive investments. Going back to the idea of like, what do I do mid project? But they offer this huge new way for users to use your website. So, I mean, is that what you're seeing as well? Like, I think these things are actually very doable for so many people.
Yeah, yeah. We're using Microsoft OpenAI a lot, and it's just stunningly straightforward to use. They remove a lot of complexity. I think probably most effort is put into tuning it so that you're actually getting users are getting what you want them to get in the prompts. But there's so much you can do. Like I mentioned, you could even tie it into custom functionality of the site, like back end methods. I don't want to get too technical, so that the chat is just even collecting information to help prepare an order or looking up information specific to the visitor if they have an account or something like that and giving them very specific answer. And we've got POCs on a bunch of those different techniques, and it's frankly really exciting.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the AI assistant piece of the puzzle. What about other parts of the marketing stack, right? So what should marketers and IT teams that are doing an RFP or something, what questions should they be asking of platforms to make sure the platform is going to set them up to be able to do everything that we're talking about, whether it's service information or on the back end connect to Google and other people? What's important in like a CMS, for instance?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some basic things like just again getting that structured content to out to Google and other search engines, but then also like all the platforms are talking about AI, so there's probably some need for critical thinking there as well. But take the structured data thing first. Some platforms are very content centric, where you actually model the content you want to publish or present, and then you create that presentation layer and how it's going to be presented. And I honestly like those kind of platforms. And Experience by Kaneko is a really good example. You actually define content, even reusable content structures first, and then define the page types you want to use, and then you create the templates and the widgets to display it. But what that promotes is thinking about your content as content that's going to be consumed other places, therefore making those schema.org based semantic types so that you can put that structured content in the site, and then all the bots are understanding your content and so on. Other platforms are more of like a kind of templating based platforms where you may not actually, the site may not actually know what kind of content it has. It just knows I have this template, and the author put a piece of content here, put a piece of content there. And I am exaggerating a bit there, but there is definitely a different kind of styles of CMSs. And I would steer very much now, especially towards content centric platforms. Um, and if we talk about AI more broadly, like all the platforms are going to be trying to have AI talking points in their marketing materials. So the big question you need to ask is, are they actually meeting a need I have with AI? Or is it simply we do AI?
Yeah, it's
So
simply in a query out for Gen AI. You could use another tool for it, like, but it's in the platform now, but doesn't really add value for me as a marketer.
right. Right. And maybe a good example of what a platform can do well for you if they were using AI is help you segment site visitors automatically into personas.
Yeah.
Typically in the past, you'd have to set up rules and kind of pre-craft rules to decide how to segment contacts. And, it's hard to adapt. It's hard to anticipate the rules that would work. But AI can really help you identify patterns quickly and help you then segment contacts. And can you imagine, pick the hero that's best for this site visitor? It just works instead of you having to set up rules, or give me a list of contacts that would be good for this campaign on da 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 da, and it analyzes the activities and the contacts that have visited your site and helps you populate that. I mean, some of this is a little pie in the sky right now, because it's,
But
you got to collect that data, but it's actually very doable.
and they develop
Um,
quickly, right? I mean, these platforms
yeah,
are all moving so fast. Your comments about kind of content first um, website building tools, it makes me think back to, 5 years ago, it felt like the only option, if you were serious about this stuff, was to go with one of the pure headless CMSs on the
right,
market.
right,
And when it came to structured content, it made sense. And the traditional CMSs weren't there yet. But even in the short time since then, the gap has been completely closed, in my opinion. Like you mentioned, Experience by Kentico, work with that platform a lot. It blows my mind that within this great traditional DXP that still has all the functionality they had before for marketers, you have a full blown headless CMS in the Content Hub, just part of the product, just built in. It's basically completely, in my opinion, this hybrid headless solution has
yeah,
completely gotten rid of the need for pure headless in a lot of cases, which is really exciting because to think in 2 years, what are these platforms going to be offering? It's crazy.
right, right. Yeah, I think that's true. Like experience is definitely giving customers the best of both worlds in many cases because they have that structured content, but then when you get to the templating part, you still are able to give authors that drag and drop
Visual
kind of
editing,
WYSIWYG
low
experience.
code, no code, which headless
Yeah,
doesn't have, right? So it's like, wow, if we can do that in the product, I'm excited for the stuff you're talking about too, which is the really hardcore marketing automation and segmenting and all that stuff. And I think what's gonna be cool is, when you get into doing the stuff you're talking about and letting AI help you parse what your users are doing, you're gonna find groups and tendencies that you could never have guessed with the rule ahead of time, right? It's the
yeah,
whole idea of big data. You dump it in and oh wow, it doesn't understand things, but it segments things that we never could have figured out or guessed without it. So it's unlocking all these new things. It's gonna be really cool.
right, right, absolutely.
Okay. Well, Mike, we're coming up on the end of our event here. Anything we didn't talk about that you kind of have on your mind on this topic?
Um, no, did I mention that I think Brandon would be have a lot to say about
Yes.
this
So
topic,
I'm sure
especially
Brandon.
making content that
I
AI
hope
assistant searches are
Brandon
going to use?
is watching because he's maybe getting a preview of a Teams message he'll be getting from me very
Oh,
shortly, where Mike has nominated him for the next episode of Beyond the Build. It's going to be awesome. Brandon Hess is a wizard with everything analytics and tracking and content. And I think Mike is right. It would be a great
you
natural
should you should sign up for that, folks.
extension of this conversation. So if you're attending on LinkedIn or watching this later, definitely be on the lookout for our next episode coming next month. We'll be sending out invites for that. And maybe if you're Brandon, you might be just voluntold that you're on the next episode by Mike. We're blaming Mike, not me. But really
Yeah.
excited. Thanks so much, Mike. Really appreciate you being our inaugural guest here, helping me work out all the kinks. But we're looking forward to the future of the series too, and really trying to give a holistic picture of the different things we do at Blue Modus and the different things that go into a successful website, not just the project, but after launch, ongoing. There's so much that goes into it. So I'm excited to have these conversations keep going. And thanks again, Mike.
All right. Thanks,
All right. Have
Justin.
a great day. Thanks, everybody. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.